just like moments that are kind of weird in hindsight once you're older and you look back like that was you as a child. I know I was technically 18 at the time when he did this, but this like isn't right. Like he can't be grooming young girls.
Oh, that's funny, right as I hit record. Hey guys, what's up? It's Ghosty. The G in Ghosty is spelled with the number 6. Today we are talking about one of the internet's most successful feminists, JustPearlyThings, of course. I'm half joking. I'm saying that because she exhibits all of the stereotypical feminist traits while denouncing them at the same time, so it's kind of funny to me. We're talking about a video that not many people have seen and not many people know about. I think there's a lot of really damning evidence in here. It really highlights her hypocrisy. I did cover this a few weeks ago back on a live stream, but I was not planning on covering the topic that night, so I didn't have all my clips and videos organized. I wanted to make a more comprehensive video. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna watch the video first of Pearl. This is from a couple years ago. It was made a few months before she really blew up, or at least within that year before she blew up and got her first 1 million subscribers. And then I'm going to show you some other clips she posted later in her career that are also mostly gone from her YouTube channel at least, and reveal the true hypocrisy in what she says because, well, we're gonna get to it, but pretty much she's saying things that she doesn't actually believe and she knows better than to say or believe in. You guys will see what I mean.
What up, guys? Welcome to the JustPearlyThings YouTube channel. God, I'm kind of nervous to tell this story because I really don't know how the manosphere is gonna react. But I want to tell you a story that really made me dislike men for like a really, really long time. And really like made me feel like violated, so to speak. This story, everything that happened was like legal technically, but
oh, so that just reminded me, I do believe she originally took this video down because the man she will be talking about and accusing throughout this video apparently sued her, or there was word of him suing her, likely for defamation. Her defense was that she didn't use his name in the video, even though I think she does say his first name in this video. She did end up taking this video down originally for that reason, but she's also likely pretty embarrassed about it as well.
Everything that happened was like legal technically, but there's just a lot of stuff that was really like messed up in hindsight to me. Okay, I'm kind of nervous. Okay. So anyone that's been like following me for a while knows that I was an athlete and like sports was super, super important to me when I was growing up. So I was always the type to like put in extra hours at the gym. I was always the type to like work hard. I'm like naturally pretty uncoordinated, but I really like got to where I was athletically just because I worked really, really hard. So I'm getting nervous. Okay. Anyways, so when I was in high school, my mom hired a trainer, and that trainer, his name was Marcus, and he was in the NFL. And he was like, I don't know, like my dad was gone a lot when I was younger, and I'm never going to be the type to say like my dad wasn't there, because he was always there for like the big events, like the big stuff. He was always there for us. I always knew that he loved us. But there were times when he just like wasn't around a lot because he was running like a big software company, you know? So at that time, like I really looked at this trainer, Marcus, as like a father figure. Like I saw him maybe 2 or 3 times a week. So I got like, it was a one-on-one session. So I got like really close with him. And like all the time, and this was when I started maybe when I was 15. Like going to see him a couple times a week, and he really helped me like get to the next level of my sport, whatever. And in hindsight, there were like a couple conversations that stood out to me that were kind of weird. But at the time when you're young, like it's kind of exciting when the adult talks to you about like stuff that's sort of inappropriate to be talking to minors about.
But just notice throughout the video the verbiage she uses, especially phrases referring to her age and immaturity, such as when she just said, when you're young, you kind of think it's cool when adults are talking to you about things that are kind of inappropriate to be talking to teenagers about.
But at the time when you're young, like, it's kind of exciting when the adult talks to you about like stuff that's sort of inappropriate to be talking to minors about. Like a conversation that stood out was, I remember like saying something about me being like insecure, you know, when I was a kid. Because when I was in high school, like, I got zero attention from boys. Like, boys never talked to me.
Like she said, she's in high school. She started these sessions with him, you know, at 15. So these comments could be told to her as young as 15 years old, which is really fucked up. But she says something here that I think is important. She mentions something that many people have speculated about her, which is that she didn't get much attention from boys in high school. And I'm not saying this to be mean, but considering how jealous she acts, how much she puts down other females, specifically about their looks and the attention they get from guys, it does kind of scream jealousy. And this is something that I struggled with in high school as a teenager. I was not the most popular girl by any means, and I was jealous of the more pretty and more popular girls who got more attention from guys I liked. So I would make fun of them to my friends or like talk down about them. And then I got older, I grew out of that and realized that I was just a jealous bitch. I was jealous of other girls who got things that I didn't or had things that I didn't, and realized there's no reason to hate them for that. And I really don't think that Pearl has gotten past that stage.
When I was in high school, like, I got zero attention from boys. Like, boys never talked to me. So, and it's not even like the 80-20 thing. Like, guys just never approached me, never talked to me. I went to a small Catholic school. And I said something to him about it, and he said, like, you'll get attention in college. And I forgot what he said, but he, like, I don't remember the exact words, but he heavily insinuated that, like, basically I had a big butt, so I would get attention in college. And, like, to me, this was just, like, a source of validation that I never really got, like, from, you know, like, anywhere outside of high school. And there's just small things like that where I would tell him about, like, parties, like, that I went to, or like, nothing big, but, like, you know, just stuff like you really should not be talking about, like, underage drinking with an adult as a minor. Like, that's inappropriate. But, you know, there's a lot of, like, other stuff too that he just helped me with. So it wasn't like that was all we were talking about, but that there's just, like, moments that are kind of weird in hindsight once you're older and you look back, like, that was you as a child, you know?
Okay, so once again, and I'm smirking here, once you see the other clips I'm going to show you after this, things that she said only a few months to a year after she made this video, you're going to realize why I'm grinning and how much of a hypocrite she is. But again, she's saying things like, you know, once you're looking back, you realize kind of how stupid you were, how immature you were, that you were a child. Those were her words. And remember, she is 15 to 17 here, which, you know, to me, I agree with her right now. I agree. You are pretty kid-like, at least compared to full-grown adults, right? Especially in a sexual or romantic context. So yeah, I agree with her here, but today, if you asked her, she does not hold the same opinions, which is a strange opinion to go back on.
There's just, like, moments that are kind of weird in hindsight once you're older and you look back, like, that was you as a child, you know? Anyways, I, like, keeping on going with this story. When I turned 18, or I was 17 when I left for college. So the last time I saw him before I left for college, I was 17 because I was kind of young for my grade. So when I turned 18, I went to college, and I did well my freshman year, whatever. And the first time I went back to see him when I was 18, because, sorry, this might sound weird if you aren't in a sport, but any, like, former athlete knows the connection you have with, like, a coach. So he wasn't the only coach that I'd go back and see. Like, I went back and saw my high school coach. I saw a couple club coaches. And while I was at it, I went and saw my old trainer that I was really close with that helped me get to where I was. He texted me, because I was just going to go see him at the gym. He texted me to go see him at this, like, bar. But it was like during the day, so you could go eat there too. So I was like, okay, it's not that weird, like just going to get lunch with an old coach, you know, whatever. I genuinely didn't think anything of it. So it was weird when I got there because he was definitely like drinking and he like sat at the bar. But I was so naive, guys. Like I didn't think anything. And he kept trying to get me to drink because I was like kind of bragging that I had like a fake ID and whatnot. So yeah, so he was like trying to get me to use it. And I wasn't the type to just like drink with adults. Like I would just drink at college. I didn't drink when I was home. So I kept telling him, no, I don't want to do that. Whatever. And during the dinner or the lunch, he just said things that were kind of weird. Like he would say, like, again, making comments about my butt, asking if I had sex at that point, like, you know, just stuff that was inappropriate and I thought was kind of weird. But like in my head, it was just because we were like close. Like this was the, you know, father-like figure. I don't know. It was really weird in hindsight. I don't know. I was dumb.
This is a concept that a lot of people don't understand. When you're in these situations, they're not as clear as they seem, you know, later on. Hindsight is 2020. Especially if you're very young, you don't understand all of these things yet, you don't have a lot of life experience, you don't expect these things, so you just kind of assume they're normal, you kind of overlook them, you justify it in your head, you kind of avoid it altogether. So a lot of people, including Pearl, do a lot of victim blaming. You know, a lot of people might say to Pearl in this situation, why didn't you see the red flags? Why didn't you leave? Why didn't you call the cops? Why didn't you tell your parents? Which is something that's going to come up later, actually. But that's not really how these situations actually work. And we know this because this is a very common behavioral pattern we see in victims of all different sorts. Domestic violence, sexual assault, grooming, even like fraud and stuff like that. It's not always that simple. And this is something that if this video wasn't Pearl and Pearl was watching this, she would 100% be victim blaming herself right now, which I hope she doesn't actually do in real life. I'm pretty sure Pearl was just one of those shock value content creators and doesn't believe what she says, but it is still fucked up. Even if she doesn't believe it, she's still putting out the message.
But like in my head, it was just because we were like close. Like this was the, you know, father-like figure. I don't know. It was really weird in hindsight. I don't know. I was dumb. But anyway, so I said like, okay, I'm gonna go. Great to see you, whatever, left. He calls me on my way back and says, hey, like you should just come to the gym really quick. He owned the gym, like it was his own place. And at first I said no, but he's like, come on, like you should have a shot with me. I don't know. He kept asking me if I wanted to have a shot with him. And in my head, I thought, I always felt like special, like cooler than the other girls. Because he was like the cool trainer at like my club that I went to. So I always felt like I'm the one that he like gives extra attention to, or I'm the one that he, you know, spends more time with. Like I'm the one he believes in, whatever. I always felt like cool. So I genuinely thought it would be cool to like take a shot with, you know, my old trainer and just brag about it to my friends. So when I thought about it like that, I was like, you know what? F it. Like, I'll go take a shot and then I'm going to get going. And I have to say, by the way, he is, I don't know what his age was, but like I would say late 30s, early 40s. He had a daughter that was my age, which, you know, kind of weird. And he was married too. So that's why a lot of stuff that he did that was weird. Like in my head, people don't cheat, especially when they're married. And at that age, like I genuinely did not think that married men cheated. Like genuinely didn't know. I'd never heard of anyone cheating. Yeah, I didn't think it was a thing. So
if this is true, Pearl is 18 now and still doesn't realize or even consider that married men cheat. I don't really understand that. I mean, I understand she grew up in a very sheltered home and family, very wealthy. What'd she say, like a small Catholic school? Maybe it was a private school. Maybe she actually did believe this. But either way, this really shows her immaturity levels at 18, and she doesn't even consider that married people can cheat.
And at that age, like, I genuinely did not think that married men cheated. Like, genuinely didn't know. I'd never heard of anyone cheating. Yeah, I didn't think it was a thing. So I go to the gym, right? And he's like there sitting down, and he's just like making conversation with me, whatever. And we take the shot, whatever, and we talk probably for like half hour, 45 minutes. And he says, you know, like, this gym, like, we're alone. We could do whatever you want. And I'm like, what do you mean, Marcus? Like, what do you, and he's like, what do you think I mean? And I don't know why, like, because there's a bunch of stuff that led up to it, but this was over, I'm 24 now, so this was over 5 years ago, so I genuinely don't remember the entire conversation.
Okay, keep in mind too, she said she's 24 right now as I'm recording this video. Pearl is 28. She just turned 28 in November. Again, she's saying this and recording this video within a year at most, before she really blew up and started saying all of the very extreme, shocker, misogynistic takes and everything, including the victim blaming clips that I will show you.
I'm 24 now, so this was over 5 years ago, so I genuinely don't remember the entire conversation. But like, that part of the conversation, literally, I will never forget. And so then I just said, you know what, Marcus, like, I think I do, but I'm gonna pretend like I don't. I'm gonna get out of here. And then he's like texting me after I leave, like trying to get me to come back and like have sex with him. And obviously, like, I left. I was not about that. But I came to find out that he was doing this not just with me, like, clearly, but with like a lot of other girls. He would just like plant seeds until we were 18 and try to hook up with the girls once they turned 18. And it's just kind of messed up, you know? And it was like heartbreaking to me, because this guy, like, I looked at him as a father figure. There were times where I was like closer with him than like with my dad. And nothing against my dad, you know, me and my dad like got closer after this, and like later on, like now I'm like super close with my dad. But yeah, at that time I really wasn't. So it just kind of changed the way that I viewed the world, because one, I didn't know people cheated. I didn't know that was a thing. Two, it made me second guess a lot of like coaches that had given me like attention and help growing up, you know. It made me kind of think maybe a lot of them were creepier than I thought before. And genuinely, like, I felt like I'd lost like a friend, which really sucked. And then on top of that, I actually had to go get him fired from my school, because he was going to start coaching my younger sisters. He was the track coach at my high school, and I was not about to let him coach my sisters. So I like literally printed the screenshots and I brought it to the school and was like, look, I know I was technically 18 at the time when he did this, but this like isn't right. Like, he can't be grooming young girls to do that. Like, that's messed up. So I don't know, that event like actually changed my life. Like, and that's when I started to like, I don't want to say hate men, but I started to see it everywhere. Like, I would see all these guys like at my school or at, you know, like married guys just like being super flirty with like younger girls. And it just made me
question men in the slightest, at least. You know, put your guard up a little bit. That's normal, Pearl. That's okay.
I would see all these guys like at my school or at, you know, like married guys just like being super flirty with like younger girls. And it just made me sad, you know? But I mean, it's been long enough. Like, I'm cool now, but yeah, that's that's the story of how one guy made me think poorly of an entire gender for maybe like 2 years. It wasn't that long, but year, 2 years, longer than it should have. So I feel weird after that story telling you to comment anything, but yeah, thanks for listening. If you made it this far, I'll talk to you guys next time.
That was the first video. Now let's watch some clips of Pearl a few months to a year or so later after recording this video that we just watched. This next clip comes from her pregame show that she used to do on YouTube. What is my cat doing? So again, this was recorded like maybe a year, give or take, after that last video we just watched. I would play the whole thing, but it's kind of unnecessary. If you do want to watch more of it, I did cover most of this video in my past live stream when I covered this topic. I'll put a link in the description. But the context is, shortly before this, Pearl had a whole list of words that she thinks women shouldn't be able to use because they either overuse them or they're annoying.
Pearl, you gotta add "I'm a queen."
Oh.
Please add that one.
I'm an independent.
I'm an independent queen.
And I feel like I need to disagree about a few things actually. A few things on that list
Okay,
actually.
go ahead.
I'd personally remove. I don't know exactly what, but one stood out to me. Now, I've had a few exes. A lot of the exes I've had have been very, very nice men. I'd say recently, I'd say about in October, I got out of a relationship and I was with this guy for a year and this guy was genuinely abusive. Does that mean I cannot use the term that I had an abusive ex?
One of the words was abuser, or saying you've been in an abusive relationship. So the one girl that we're going to hear a lot from said, you know, well, I don't really think that's fair. I've been in an abusive relationship. Just because certain women lie and make up stories doesn't mean that other women who actually have been abused should just pretend like they haven't been, pretty much, and not be able to talk about it, I guess. So that's kind of the context of this. There's a lot of back and forth, kind of repetitive. They're talking down to her, trying to mentor her and be like,
oh, you don't want to be a victim and you're a grown woman and blah, blah, blah.
But pretty much this is the important part that I'm showing you, especially in regards to what Pearl says.
Can I ask you a question? So this happened at 17 years old?
Yeah.
And how old are you right now?
I'm 21.
Okay, this happened 4 years ago, 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Do you still consider
No,
yourself a victim of that?
No, I consider myself as someone who survived it and somebody that, like, I feel like I could have done a lot of things better. I could have left a lot of times when I didn't leave, but I felt like I was just sort of sucked into like a cycle where I felt like I couldn't get out.
Can I just say something, young lady, right? What you need to do, right, is say to yourself, I'm a survivor, I'm not a victim. And that's the first thing. No, I'm serious. You see what I mean? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, it's not a game.
Wait,
It's
so
not
no,
funny.
I'm not joking. No,
No, but what
I'm
I'm
not
trying to
joking.
say
I mean,
is
to be 4 years outside of the situation happening and it's still drawing tears out of you.
No, I mean, like, it ended recently.
I love how he says, and it's still drawing tears out of you, when she was the one who made the joke. The singing, the survivor, I'm a survivor.
Say to yourself, I'm a survivor, I'm not a victim. And that's
Yeah.
the first thing. No, I'm serious. You see what I mean? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, it's not a game.
Wait,
You
so
see what-
And then he's like, and it's still drawing tears out of you. After he was like, it's not a game. This guy annoys me.
I mean,
I'm not
to be
joking.
4 years outside of the situation happening and it's still drawing tears out of you. means
No,
that-
I mean, like,
means that you're not
it
healed from
ended
the situation.
recently, as in, like, it started about 16,
Why were you in it
17.
but you were in it for 4 years as an adult and you didn't remove yourself from
Off
the
and on,
situation?
yes. And again, like I said, it's a mistake that I made.
That's why you need more tough love, because you've gotten pandered to, you've gotten coddled throughout
But I
your life. That's why you stayed in
I
that
didn't
situation.
necessarily get coddled because, again, the only people that I was seeking
You needed a
advice
father
from,
to step into this
Yeah,
situation
no,
and say,
you know
"What are you doing?
Yeah,
he's
no.
obviously not into you.
Yeah,
he's
no,
obviously
I'd
doing.
agree.
He's obviously right." But that's tough love. So you don't need more of this. You don't need more babying. You need someone to step in and say, "This is what a man is. This is how a man should act."
He's on to
And
killing
if
in
he
life.
is not that version, then you need to step. You need to go somewhere else. Modern women today have been lied to. And here's the thing: is that, like, you guys want us to be truthful, but at the point that we're truthful, then you start crying. Then you start, with the victimhood. Then you start with these type of things. So oftentimes we just let y'all just go off. We just let y'all just do y'all thing. And then again, you're going to be single for the next couple of decades with a low-level barometer of hate for men.
I don't hate men, personally.
Can I ask you something? Because
Yeah.
there's just something. So he would hit you? Is that what would happen?
I'd say it was a bit less physical. It did get physical a few times, but it was
By just
more
him?
emotional.
Or was it
Sorry.
two-party?
Mainly him.
So, but you hit him too?
On one occasion, I hit him back, yes.
Okay.
But
Was that the last occasion before
Did you call the
left?
cops on him?
Yeah.
You filed police report?
I did, and I never actually pressed charges.
Why not?
Because at the time I still loved him, which is, it sounds a bit weird. A lot of people don't understand that concept. But I genuinely still loved him.
A completely normal thing by the way. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't call the police or file charges, but this is something very normal for victims. And yes, although you should, it's completely normal behavior for victims to react this way. It's normal psychology. It's a human thing. I'm not going to shame victims for, you know, not doing things that most victims don't do. You know, usually takes a very long time.
Never actually pressed charges.
Why not?
Because at the time I still loved him, which is, it sounds a bit weird. A lot of people don't understand that concept. But I genuinely still loved him, even though shit happened, shit went on.
Do you think not pressing charges on him is a component of tough love, or is it a component of being coddled?
I think it's more of a component of me being sort of a empathetic person. I try to see the good in people, even when they've done bad.
And a lot of victims are these types of people. They are empathetic people who try to see the best in the worst. Often this gets taken advantage of. And again, she's only 21 at the time of this recording. She's still very, very young.
I try to see the good in people, even when they've done bad, because I've done bad things and I still believe I'm a good person. So I believe that other people are good, yet they do bad things. And I feel like if I, say for example, I press charges on him, like he had a daughter as well. If I press charges on him, that's not just him going to prison.
But what if he hits her?
I know, exactly. And that's another argument. I could be stopping other people from going through that. But because again, like I said, I loved him at the time. I thought of it as like a knock-on effect that, okay, if I get him arrested, it's not only just him that I care about him. I don't want him to be in prison. It's his child that is going to be affected. And then it's just like a knock-on effect.
And I'm curious. I'm assuming when you guys were together, you didn't think you were groomed, right?
No.
So when did that switch for you? When did you decide you were groomed?
When I wouldn't say I decided I was groomed.
Well, you changed your mind on it.
Yeah,
right?
I'd say.
People who are groomed don't realize they're being groomed. And again, she kind of just talked about this in her past video, how she didn't realize how weird the things were until afterwards. It became clear to her how strange a lot of her coach's behavior was. She didn't realize until she was older, until years later.
When did you decide you were groomed?
When I wouldn't say I decided I was groomed.
Well, you changed your mind on it.
Yeah,
right?
I'd say like when I left the relationship, I started reading a few books and I started like looking into like
You saw like signs of.
If,
Yeah, a little bit,
And
no.
he was how old again?
Well, he's currently 28.
If we just do the math, this guy's 28 now, she's 21 now. That means he's, 6 years older than her? So if she was 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, he would have been 21 when she was 15 when he first started hitting on her, buying her gifts, buttering her up, hitting on her, flirting with her, making comments about her. Kind of similar to Pearl's situation, except Pearl's coach didn't try to actively date her. He tried to sleep with her later on. Two different situations, both a form of grooming. You know, this happens. I talked about this when I did my live stream about this, but I had two guys that I can think of who were in their 20s that were flirting and talking to me as if they wanted to date me when I was 13 to 15 years old. One guy wanted to actually like meet up with me and go on dates, and I didn't because I was 15, and you know, I probably would have, not gonna lie. Like, I thought he was cool. He would say things like, oh, you're so mature for your age. I wish girls my age were like you. I can't have conversations with them like I have with you, and you're so cool, and blah, 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 blah. He would say things to me like that. He was 22 at the time when I was 13. We were supposed to meet up and go to a sports event and stuff, but I didn't know what to tell my mom. Like, if somebody pulled up in a car when I was 13, none of my 13-year-old friends had cars. It was kind of hard to get away with doing that. And see, the thing is, like, I knew my mom wouldn't approve of it. I knew age gap relationships were inappropriate, but I didn't understand the extent of it because I didn't have that emotional or just overall maturity and experience in general to understand how like fully developed a 22-year-old brain is compared to a 13-year-old brain. You know, I just thought it was kind of cool, like this older guy was into me because I was a dumb 13-year-old. We just listened to Pearl throughout her whole last video saying very similar remarks, how dumb she was. She was a child looking back. She didn't know any better.
And in hindsight, there were like a couple conversations that stood out to me that were kind of weird. But at the time when you're young, like, it's kind of exciting when the adult talks to you about like stuff that's sort of inappropriate to be talking to minors about. But there's just like moments that are kind of weird in hindsight once you're older and you look back like that was you as a child. really weird in hindsight. I don't know, I was dumb. But I came to find out that he was doing this not just with me, but with like a lot of other girls. He would just like plant seeds until we were 18 and try to hook up with the girls once they turned 18. I know I was technically 18 at the time when he did this, but this like isn't right. Like he can't be grooming young girls.
This girl is explaining and describing very similar details.
And he was how old again?
Well, he's currently 28.
If he was 22, would it have been grooming? If it was the exact same situation?
I mean, the thing is, I feel like you can sort of get groomed at any age.
So if he was younger than you, would it have been grooming?
No, see, I'm going to be careful on what I say here because I don't want to say that. No, I don't want to say that, but I just feel like I don't want to speak too much on the situation because obviously this is going to be out there and I've got people that are watching and whatnot. So I don't want to speak too much on it. But I knew this guy from when I was 15. He emailed me a lot and then he'd sort of buy me gifts, butter me up, tell me that he'd be watching me in work when I was like 16 and shit like that. And then just sort of, I don't want to say force me in a relationship, but...
Well, he didn't force you in a relationship.
No, like at the time I thought I wanted that relationship. And then afterwards I seen all the signs of like what he had done and how he had gone about it, and it all lines up to like grooming, in my opinion anyway.
Are there things you're willing to call out that are specific to grooming as opposed to just being a bad relationship with someone that you consider abusive?
No, there's a lot of specific things. Obviously, I'm no fucking, sorry for swearing, but I'm no like psychologist, and I'm no...
And the reason why I ask is because I think men today, and again, I don't know your situation at all, I'm just talking in general, a lot of men today have words that are weaponized against them when they were just bad guys.
Yeah, no, I
you know, like one of the big ones is toxic masculinity, you know, because I am, you know, I have shitty components within my masculinity that is therefore toxic.
That's not what that means, but that's a whole different topic.
Right, and it's a word that's kind of weaponized, and then there's kind of this bad branding that trails them no matter what. And, you know, again, I don't know the situation, but there's people that are watching that know you and that know him, and now they have a thought in their mind that he's a groomer. So that's why I ask is to...
No, the thing is, it's most other people that I spoke to about the situation that told me that. Like, I didn't realize until I had actually... Because when I'm in a relationship, I tend to keep a lot of things to myself. I feel like it's between me and that other person. It's nothing to do with anyone else. There may be a few issues here and there where I may seek advice. I may not exactly follow that advice, but I may just ask for other opinions. And... Again, somebody said before there may have been red flags that I ignored, and yeah, again, I'd say there was a lot of red flags that I ignored, but because I was so willing to commit to this man, I decided to stay in that relationship and endure what I endured because I thought I loved this person, but in reality, I felt like I was sort of I don't really know what to say anymore.
Can I add
honestly.
to this?
Yeah.
Like for me, I see where you're coming from and everything because, you know, I think a lot of people have gone through these things and they don't actually know they've gone through grooming.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like, some people will suss out they will kind of evaluate your situations and see how close you are with your family or your friends and things like that. And that's kind of what makes it grooming because it's like if you're young and under the age of like 18, like 16 or so, and they're 30 and they know you don't have a good connection with your family, or maybe you even like maybe were homeless or grew up in care or things like that, and then they can appeal to things that you need because you've never had anyone, that can maybe come across as grooming. So then you look at these things.
Right? Because to me, like 15 is a bit like, you know, but I don't know. When I was 17, I knew what I was doing. Yeah, no, at 17, you know.
I'd say you know what you do.
Ding, ding, ding. There is comment number 1. When Pearl was 17, she knew what she was doing. 15, that's a bit young. But 17, she knew what she was doing. We just heard her say in that last video, when she was 18 in college, she didn't even realize married men cheated.
And at that age, like, I genuinely did not think that married men cheated. Like, genuinely. Didn't know. I'd never heard of anyone cheating. Yeah, I didn't think it was a thing. But there's just, like, moments that are kind of weird in hindsight once you're older and you look back, like, that was you as a child.
Like, she didn't even think that was a thing. She didn't even consider it. So, yeah, that's total bullshit.
You know, but... I don't know. When I was 17, I knew what I was doing.
Yeah,
like
no,
at 17, you know.
I'd say you know what you're doing, but what business does a 27-year-old man have to do with a 15, 16, 17-year-old?
I mean, is it 15, 16, 17? Or
I mean,
how
when I was 15, he would have been 24, and then onwards from there.
Wait, he started talking to you when you were 15?
Yeah.
Let's talk about how that's illegal. Is that
legal
here? It's definitely illegal in the States.
15's weird.
15,
it wasn't.
the
thing is, it wasn't. He was talking to me in a sexual way. It was because again, like I said, I met this guy at work, so it was like in a friendly way. But looking back, I felt like he'd butter me up, like he'd be on my socials, complimenting me, like saying shit like, "One day I'm gonna wife you," shit like that. And I didn't see it weird. Yeah, like 15, 16.
Okay, yeah, that's weird.
That's illegal.
And I didn't see it at the time, and I genuinely, I don't know. The first few years, it was obviously I got with him when I was 17. So it's not like I got with him when I was underage. I was like 17, 18 when I actually got with him and started dating him and whatnot. And again, like you said, Pearl, you know what you're doing at that age. I don't sort of say I don't know what I was doing.
Yeah,
but again, I feel like I was in a vulnerable position and I got taken advantage of.
You were unwilling to make wise decisions at that age, up to 17 or whatever the situation, and it ended a year ago. Throughout that whole time, you were incapable of making great decisions regarding this relationship.
I do agree.
So what that does not need is more coddling. That needs tough love.
Can I just say something? Right? She was working.
Huh?
She was working. You were old enough to work?
I have been in uni. I'm old enough to work, yes, but I have recently left jobs.
No, I don't mean that. I mean, when everybody's talking about the age when they got together, all I heard was they met at work.
Yeah, I was working a legal job, cash in hand, from 15 years old.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. So, all right then, if I go to a workplace, if you and me are going to work, right, and I see you at work, I'm obviously going to think you're an adult because you're working. I'm not making any excuses. Unless you told him, I am 15 years old.
I did tell him. And he told me, you look 21 and you're mature for your age. Does that excuse it? I don't think it does.
No, I'm not saying it excuses
it. Just because I'm working, it doesn't excuse it.
I'm not saying it excuses it.
It doesn't excuse it.
I'm not saying it excuses it.
No, but that's...
I'm not saying it excuses it. And this is what I mean about modern people. They always want you to be soft. And when you're trying to find out what happens, they always want to blame the men.
I'm not blaming men.
Because you're not letting me finish saying what I'm saying. You were there working illegally. Right? So the first thing the guy could have seen was that you're underage, that you're of age because you're working. So, for a start, whatever your background was...
Do you know you can work from the age of 15, 16 as long as you have a national insurance number.
And your parents' permission. And your parents' permission.
And I had a national insurance number.
And your parents' permission.
So therefore...
Quote the whole lot.
It doesn't matter.
And your parents' permission.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
To work underage.
Just because...
You need your parents... Did you have your parents' permission?
Yes, I did.
Right, so you had your parents' permission to work. So why couldn't you have parents' permission? If your parents gave you permission to work, why couldn't you go to your parents and say, this guy's talking to me and I'm underage?
Why didn't Pearl tell her parents about her coach making sexual and inappropriate comments to her as a high schooler? What a dumb fucking remark. There's a bunch of other really fucked up clips throughout this video. At one time, Auntie Jenny says, if you're a victim of abuse today, I have no sorrow for you because back in my day when I was a victim, the police were so much worse, which, by the way, victim support is still pretty shitty today. It's definitely nowhere near perfect. You do still have an excuse for being abused.
You know how many people commit crimes and do not go to prison for it?
And those are the people that should be talking about it. Those are the people, when they commit crimes...
What does that mean?
When they commit crimes, if somebody commits a crime against you and you don't want to report it, shut up about it.
What if you're just not a snitch?
Then you deserve to get abused. Yeah, I said it. I said it.
No,
I said it. I said it. If somebody's abusing you and you know that the police are going to stop you and you decide to sit there and you don't want to say nothing, well then you ask for it.
No, that's
because you could have done something about it. You could have done something about it rather than be a snitch. So you don't want to be a snitch, but you want to sit here and be abused person.
No,
you
I don't want to sit here and be an abused person.
I'm being abused.
But
you're going to sit here and say he was a groomer.
It's like you trying to turn around to...
Okay, so now we have clip number 2. They are talking about age gap relationships, specifically with 18-year-olds dating older men.
But then when you're 18 at the club, you want XY. It seems like a double standard or like a want to have your cake and eat it too situation. So.
I've been knew what I was doing since I was 16. I feel like anything that when they're like, oh, I didn't know when I was 16, I'm like, I've been knew what I was doing since I was 16.
So again, there we have it. Now, Pearl knows what she's been doing since she was 16. Which is crazy and obviously not true.
There's just moments that are kind of weird in hindsight once you're older and you look back that was you as a child. Really weird in hindsight. I don't know. I was dumb.
I've been knew what I was doing since I was 16.
She didn't realize she was a child. She was dumb. She was immature, vulnerable, all of these things she said. And now Pearl's been known what she's been doing since she was 16. No, you haven't. No 16-year-old really knows what the fuck they're doing. Maybe there's a few exceptional people out there, okay? But the exception doesn't make the rule, right? That's Pearl's favorite saying.
I've been knew what I was doing since I was 16. I feel like anything that when they're like, oh, I didn't know when I was 16, I'm like,
I wouldn't agree with that fully.
I just feel like I just feel like it's an excuse. You make decisions.
There are definitely things I would definitely not do again if I could go back 10 years to 7 years.
But I think everyone could say that.
Right.
Regardless of how mature or experienced they are, everyone regrets certain decisions that they've made.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say I know my, like, even the whole, like, you've said on other podcasts you've always known yourself. I think you can feel that way, but if you had a chance, like, put yourself in a situation 6 years ago, I think there are ways you would look at it and be like, So
I mean, I think experience like breeds maturity, but I don't think, like, I would never take accountability off of myself and say, like, blame it on my age and like I didn't know what I was doing.
All right, we have one more clip. There are a couple other clips, but I think I'm just going to play this last one because I don't want this video to be too long.
Is it wrong for what age do I want to do? A 32-year-old man to date an 18-year-old?
She's asking and defending. Is it okay for a 32-year-old man to date an 18-year-old, which is around the same ages of Pearl and her coach when he tried to sleep with her?
I don't know what his age was, but like I would say late 30s, early 40s.
That is a little different because he did groom her from 15 years old, so it's kind of a different situation. But if you're familiar with her, she also makes comments about 16-year-olds being hotter than 25-year-olds, I think it is, which is a pretty disturbing comment to make, especially as someone who, again, was groomed when she was 15.
I just struggle with the idea that an 18-year-old girl in uni is stimulating your mind and spirit. Like, and if she is, I kind of
I just think, like, when I was 18 versus 21, like, I wasn't that different. Like, I'm just thinking, like, mentally, I don't think I was that different at 18 from 21.
I don't think there is that much difference.
Yeah, and no one would really bat an eye at 21.
Pearl, between 18 and 21, wasn't that different, even though when she was 18, she didn't even know married men cheated on their wives. So that is just some of the evidence I guess I have of Pearl being a hypocrite, pretending like she doesn't know better when she actually does know better, when she's victim blaming and victim shaming. I'm trying to keep this video short, so there are a couple other clips I could show that are related to this. She was confronted about this issue on a live stream and she kind of had an interesting response, but I think this kind of paints the picture. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you want to see more content. I do live streams as well, and I do have a lot of pre-recorded video content ideas. This is my first pre-recorded video I'm making at my new apartment with my new setup, so now I'm kind of like in the swing of it. I also usually use a actual professional camera, so I'm sorry for the shitty quality. Anyways, behind the scenes shit, I didn't have it set up, so I just use my regular webcam right now. So hopefully see you guys soon. Bye.